All right. I know it's quiet. I'm sorry, I don't have any fancy background music. But let's go ahead and get started. I think we've got a pretty good crowd. I know a lot of people registered so that they could watch the recording afterwards. I have a lot that I want to go through. I want to introduce you to a few folks and make sure that we get all your questions answered. Hi, Michelina. Karen Sassine is here. Oh my goodness, I opened up my chat a little bit wider and I can see everybody. Oh, this is great. Keep saying hello to everyone. And in the chat, you will find Ms. Megan McElfresh, the Executive Director of this Stained Glass Association of America, who is going to be my chat hostess today, and she will help you out and send me little notes if I'm having any other technical issues as we move along. All righty. Let's go ahead and get started. Like I said, I've got quite a bit to share with you. And I want to try to get through it all in about 20 minutes to half an hour so we can leave plenty of time to go over any questions that you may have. The art exhibition entry process can be a little on the nerve-wracking side. And for anyone that is doing it for the first time, or is curious about how we're going to do this merging of mosaic and glass work in an exhibition. I appreciate you being here and being curious, because your questions help us make our communications clearer, more effective, and get us all working together much more efficiently. So Mosaic and Glass Arts International 2023 is an exhibition series that will be presented at Sipa Gallery in Buffalo, New York, and I'll talk about them in a little bit, August 25th through October 2nd, 2023. So the exhibition will open before our conference in Buffalo, which is the 27th through October 1st. And then we will celebrate the work and the artists as a conclusion to the exhibition, and then it will close that next day after the conference on October 2nd. The exhibition series will be comprised of two segments, fine art and site-specific and architectural art, representing new perspectives of mosaic art, stained glass, and architectural art in numerous contexts, and celebrates established as well as emerging artists working in these traditional mediums today. It is really important for both organizations, the Society of American Mosaic Artists and the Stained Glass Association of America, to present an opportunity to our members to showcase their best work. And this exhibition is one way that both organizations are looking to serve our mission. All of the segments in in the exhibition series will total between 35 and 60 artists. And I know that sounds like a pretty wide gap, but we're really open to work of all different sizes. And because the venue itself has a limited space, we wanted to open it up to work of any size, but then we're going to need to keep it to a number that is manageable within the space. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. The Society, for those of you that are joining us from other organizations, or you are new to either SAMA or SGAA, just a little bit of history or a little bit about the organizations. The Society of American Mosaic Artists is a nonprofit, which is a 501c3 organization. It means we have a little bit different focus in that we are dedicated to educating, inspiring, and promoting excellence in mosaic arts. This exhibition series for Buffalo in 2023 will be the 20th exhibition series that SAMA has produced since our establishment in 2000. The Stained Glass Association of America is a 125-year-old professional organization whose primary mission is to protect and preserve the integrity of the stained glass industry. The association functions as a 501c6, which is a little bit different, which in that capacity, it allows SGAA to represent the trade of stained glass in regard to legislation and other matters that may affect the profession. In the last couple of years, SGAA has also established an additional nonprofit organization with 501c3 status, the Stained Glass Association of America Foundation, which is doing more educational promotion and support of younger artists, especially right now in the Buffalo area. Sipa Gallery is a beautiful space that we are very excited that we have the opportunity to have a space that is literally a walk, half city block walk from our conference venue, but also a gallery that has such a historical and established presence in the Buffalo arts community. Sipa Gallery is located in Buffalo's historic Market Arcade complex. It's a contemporary photography and visual arts center with impact in both local and national communities. With the 3 galleries changing exhibits and events, multimedia, public art installations, art education programs, and an open access darkroom and digital photo lab, Sipa creates a vibrant presence in the heart of downtown Buffalo. And we, like I said, we are honored to be featuring Mosaic and Glass Arts International 2023 in this space. In the prospectus, there's a link to the Sipa Gallery website, and I encourage you to check out their website and some of the programming that they offer, the history of exhibitions that they've held. It's a really, really great space. All righty, now it's time to do the fancy little poll thing. And give me a break here. I'll launch this. All right, everyone. Have you ever, of those that are on the call, it looks like we have about 35 on the call, and gives me a little bit an idea of how deep I need to go in certain topics as I go along tonight. So I appreciate you hopping in and answering that poll. I see Diane Sonnenberg's here, Lori Frazier, Ellen Conrad, so many people. Thank you, Glenda. Actually, Zoom, it does give me a transcript as well, but if you want to forward that to us, that would be awesome. All right, I'm going to give the poll another minute. Almost everybody participated. And as I expected, all right. 4, 3, 2, 1. as I expected, we have kind of a mix. So we've had some folks that this will be their first time. We've had a few that have entered a couple. And then I've got some old timers in there too. All righty, thank you. Okay. Put that little. Put that away. First thing I'm going to go over really quick here is the exhibition calendar. The deadline coming up is June 15th. And that's, I think the system will shut down at midnight Eastern time. So those that are on the West Coast or further west, you may want to plan ahead. I really recommend that if you intend on entering this exhibition, you at least get your profile set up and get in the system and start loading your images and getting familiar with the system several days before the deadline. Please don't wait until the last day. And I know that sounds like something that should be common sense, but you would be surprised how many folks actually wait until the last day. And because we're using a new system this year, especially if you've never used artcall.org before, we really want you to have some comfort and not have this experience be a stressful time for you. We will be jurying shortly after the deadline. So at this point, I do not anticipate we will extend that deadline at all. We have a tight publication schedule, as well as a need to make sure that everyone has their work packed and safe and ready to go and shipped to us, so we can stay on schedule with our installation. September 1st is going to be the opening event. The gallery, Sipa Gallery, participates in Buffalo's First Fridays, and that September 1st is going to be a real big night in Buffalo, especially downtown. Lots of people, lots of galleries open. It's going to be a great event. So if you can travel for that and you are included in the exhibition, you're definitely more than welcome to come to that. But if you can't make it for the opening, we will have a artist celebration as part of the joint conference that is happening in Buffalo on September 29th. I think that's a Friday night of the conference program. And Megan's going to be putting links to the conference information in the chat. I'm not going to go too deep into conference stuff. We'll probably do another informational webinar or something as we get a little bit closer to conference time to help answer any questions on conference. But again, Megan's in the chat, and I'm going to be sharing our contact information. So if you do have conference questions, please feel free to send those or put them in the Q&A. It might be something I can get to here tonight. The exhibition will close on the 2nd, and then we will return all the entries and loaned ephemera for the architectural work. Shipping of sold work will all happen immediately after closing. Now I get to introduce our 2023 jury. The first up is Claudia Carabalda, and she is with the Buffalo AKG Art Museum. Our jury, as you will see, is going to be a 5-person panel. 2 will be from the stained glass discipline, 2 will be from the Mosaic discipline, and then we've invited Claudia to represent the local arts community so that we can have a real breadth of experience, but as not only experience, but as viewpoints that are reviewing the pool of entries and creating an exhibition that will not only serve both organizations and both mediums, but the local community we are bringing this exhibition to as well. So Claudia will be one of our jurors. We are also excited that Dr. Jing Cook, who is a recognized educator and researcher on the science and engineering of glass art and manufacturing. She's an artist herself, but she brings this research and science viewpoint to it, which is going to be really exciting. We are also, and for those of you that are SAMA members, we are very excited that Lindsey Perot will be joining us as well. Lindsey joined us for our Boston conference in 2018, and she was one of our jurors for the exhibition then, and she will be joining us as well. She's the executive director and curator of the Neustadt collection of Tiffany glass based in Queens, New York. And she's lovely and did an excellent job last time. And we're looking forward to her perspective in this new combined format. Next is Lillian Sizemore. Many within the Mosaic community know Lillian. She has been a longtime SAMA member and contributor, authored several articles, as well as the San Francisco Guide to Mosaic Sites, which we've carried here as part of our library for several years. She has been an exhibiting artist and is very excited to be joining this. A lot of you are. And then our fifth is to be announced. I'm working on some scheduling issues, but we have someone very well known from outside the US, from the Mosaic art community, that will be our fifth juror and round out this panel of esteemed, I think they're all going to be women, esteemed women to review the work this year. I want to talk a little bit about the jury process. For those of you that, again, have not entered juried shows, this panel will look at your entries from the comfort of their own homes, offices, studios, wherever they're choosing to engage. We use the artcall.org platform, which has a jurying functionality. So they will be able to review your work and review the content, the text that you provide, as well as the images. And they will do it over a 3 to 4 day online only process. We let them move through the stages of reviewing your work at their speed. It is done in a blind jury format, which means that all of your identifying information will be withheld from them. So all they're going to be reviewing is the images of your work, and the text that you provide. So that's why it's really important to plan out your entries in advance. And I'm going to talk about images because the image is everything that you provide to communicate to this esteemed jury all about your work. It's not an easy job, and most of them take a great deal of time with each work. And so you're investing time by being on this webinar, making sure you've got all the tips and tricks down. is really to your advantage to making sure that you present your work to them in the best possible light. At one point during the process, we will all get together on a Zoom call and we will discuss works. They'll be able to have conversations with each other about works. If there are Mosaic works that the stained glass jurors would like to have a little bit more context about, if they want to discuss, sometimes there are conversations that happen around understanding materials and process when there are jurors that are looking at your work as a piece of art, but are drawn into the point to understand a little bit more. And so that's why the importance for us to have this blended jury reviewing this pool of work was so important. And I'm really looking forward. I'm very lucky to be part of those conversations in that I facilitate them. But it's really cool thing to hear them be curious about your work. As a group, they will unanimously select the awards, and I'll talk about the awards here in a minute. But there's really not a lot. A lot of people think there's some big mystery about the jury process, and it's really simple in that they look at your work and they're given a limit to the numbers that they can select depending as they narrow the pool down, where we need it to be size-wise to fit within the gallery. And that's really it. Let me see if does anybody have questions about a jury process? Let me just double check the chat and the Q&A here. There's my chat. Any other questions about jury? Thanks, guys. Okay, I'm going to delete my chat disabled ones. Okay. All right. So next, we are very excited to be able, thanks to some incredible sponsors that we will be sharing more information about as we move on through the exhibition and conference process. But there's a great deal of fundraising that's been going on to raise funds to be able to provide very substantial, meaningful awards. And the awards for 2023 are outlined both on the exhibition, and then I have them here on the screen, as well as the definition for each of those. So the first set, we've got Best in Show Mosaic, and then Best in Show Stained Glass, the Technical Distinction Awards, and then Contemporary Innovation Awards. And those are contemporary innovation, the works that best encourage experimentation and challenges the definition of either mosaic or stained glass art. All of these awards are selected by jury consensus. And then for the site-specific and architectural art segment, we will be awarding Best Site-Specific or Architectural Project, Best Community Project, and then there will also be jurors awards where each of the, I say 4, but it's actually going to be 5. 5 from either of the segments will be selected by each juror, and then there will be a People's Choice Award, and we will have both online as well as in-person voting for the People's Choice Award at the conference, and that will be awarded at the conclusion of the exhibition. All right, eligibility. On and most of this information, or all this information I have is also available on the exhibition website, which I'm going to go to here in a few moments. Anyone who is a current member of SGAA or SAMA, and your membership needs to stay valid or current throughout the length of the exhibition. So if you're a member now and you're about to expire, we need you to renew so you are current and up to date throughout the, out through the beginning of October. All artwork needs to be the artist's original design and completed within the past 3 years. Art center, school, open studio time projects will be accepted. Reproductions of ancient mosaics are not permitted, and no reproductions of copy-free or copyrighted material, even with permission, will be allowed unless it's copyrighted by the submitting artist. We want you to submit your own work. And we also don't want you to submit work that was created during an educational experience, such as a technical workshop, master course, or directed study. Obvious copyright infringement will result in the removal of all work for consideration prior to jurying. And there have been times that I've even had jurors spot copyrighted work, and you really, really don't want to do that. I think the juror ended up contacting the artist directly because they were so upset about it. Each artist may enter up to 3 original works per segment for a total maximum of 6 entries. So you can enter up to 3 in the fine art segment, and you can enter up to 3 in the site-specific architectural segment. Each entry or each work that you enter has a separate entry fee of $20. So you can build your submissions based on your budget, what you have available in your work inventory. Okay, let's talk about the fine art segment a little bit. Each entry may be in one of the following subcategories. And this was one of the great opportunities I think we had as the joint exhibitions committee with volunteer board members from both SGAA and SAMA came together to try to find a really good balance and what would be fair and a true representation of contemporary work, so that there can be a little bit of guidelines. And we know that many of you out there do like to push these definitions and boundaries. So I like to leave those decisions up to the jury to decide. But what we're looking for in our entries in that pool that we want to present to this great jury are wall mosaics. These are mosaics that are mounted to a vertical flat surface, and that can be 2-dimensional panels, bas-relief panels, or wall sculptures. We're looking for autonomous vertical stained glass. And I'm going to show you some examples here in a little bit. But stained glass works that are suspended to hang freely or that have structured installation mechanisms that support a vertical presentation. So there's a lot of different ways that a stained glass work can be presented to the public. And we'll get into some of the more permanent site-specific options, but there's also a lot of work out there that is being created and presented that can be moved, can be hung vertically or presented in stands and things like that. And so I'll show you some examples. We're also looking for the freestanding mosaics and freestanding stained glass. So these are your 3-dimensional works, or works that can be set on a pedestal or a floor support for presentation. The entry requirements for the fine arts segment. Each entry should have at least one primary image, and that image is to include any framing or presentation elements that are integral to the presentation of the work. So what does that mean? That means if you have a stained glass panel that is to be hung from the ceiling in a window, we want to see that a little bit of that hanging mechanism. We want to see how it is suspended. It is a mosaic that has an actual frame around it, hanging on the wall. We want to see the frame. We want to see how it is to be presented in the gallery. We don't want any surprises once we unpack your work and find that after very meticulously measuring, that your work now has a 3-inch border frame around it that is going to throw off the layout. So, and it really affects the impression that the jury has on the work as well. Present it as in your images as it will be presented in the gallery. In addition, and I'll show you some examples of this as well, you can add some detail images to these fine art entries. So you can have a maximum of 3 images per work. The detail images are great for showing texture, for showing alternate lighting situations, and giving a little bit better idea of scale sometimes when you kind of give it a different angle. So those detail images can really enhance your exhibition entry. All right, I see your questions and I'm gonna get to them. Thank you. If you think of anything else, feel free to just pop them in there, and once I get through one of my sections, I'll go back and get those answered for you. So when you are preparing your entry, I really recommend having a folder on your desktop or your laptop computer, having a document file that is the one place where you pull together all of the informational items that you'll need for each work. So each work you'll need to have a title, a 300-word artist statement, the dimensions of the work, the height, the width, the weight. I think we also have depth for the 3-dimensional work, how deep it is, the year it was created, the sales price, or if the work is not for sale, and what the segment or subcategory designation is. There'll be a place for that on the form, and then a brief materials listing. I want to take a second to talk about that materials listing. We don't need to get super detailed with that. I think on the materials listings, we'd really like you to keep it precise, but concise. No brand names are necessary. And if the work has mixed media elements, a brief listing of what those mixed media elements are. And for most of the mosaic works, especially, separately listing the substrate material isn't always necessary unless it is integral to your explanation or telling the story of your work, that it's a handmade substrate, or it's a substrate that was an heirloom that was given by the client or whatever. But most of the time, you know, Weddy board, plywood substrate, that's not necessary. Marilyn Castle asks, I'm going to answer this one real quick. Do I need to show the frame when it's just a very thin aluminum frame? No, Marilyn, if it's just a thin aluminum frame, especially with some of the stained glass panels, there may just be a simple tame channel that's framing it. If you crop to that frame, you should be fine. It's really the ones where the frame alters the presentation of the work, or the hanging mechanism, or the stand or structure that was created to present the work kind of alters or has some sort of implication for presenting the work, if that makes sense. And anonymous attendee and Michelina, I'm coming back to yours here in a few minutes. Let's talk real quick. I'm gonna see if there's any other fine art segment questions. Actually, anonymous attendee, I'm going to answer yours right now. She asks if a stained glass mosaic, then is it possible to be awarded in both categories? That answer is no. If it's a mosaic, it's a mosaic. Being clear about your fabrication method is critical when you select your categories. So any mosaics where there is a substrate, there is a layer of substrate, a layer of adhesive, a layer of tessera that happens to be stained glass, that's a mosaic, and that should be entered in the mosaic category, even if stained glass or sheet glass is your primary material in the construction of that mosaic. I hope that makes sense for everyone. Michelina asks, can you submit work that has been previously shown in other juried exhibitions, either in the US or abroad, or does it need to be a completely new work? Michelina, you can enter it as long as it hasn't been accepted into a SAMA or an SGAA exhibition. I think we do in the prospectus outline that as well. Yeah. So as long, it can be in other exhibitions, if you've had a solo exhibition or there's been another organization exhibition that the work has been in, you can enter it for this exhibition as long as it hasn't been entered and presented in another SAMA exhibition. So that's Mosaic Art Salon, that's a 100 Moments, or another Mosaic Arts International exhibition. Lenny is asking about the artist statement, and I think I'll answer this real quick before we move into the next segment as well. The artist statement should speak about the work. It can speak a little bit about the process, whatever in 300 words is going to help you further communicate to the jury and in the catalog what you need to communicate about the work. And we do provide a couple guidelines in the prospectus and on the exhibition website, but as long as that artist statement doesn't have identifying information, so you don't say who you are, that would be fine. If you put your name in your artist statement, I'm going to need to hide it from the jury, if that makes sense. Okay. Will any of the freestanding or hanging stained glass for fine art works be lit or illuminated? Yes, And that's a question that I will be working with any of the artists who are accepted. We'll be having conversations with you directly about that. And so as you are preparing your entry, be thinking ahead of how you would like your work to be lit or illuminated, and we'll be treating those on a case-by-case basis. The SGAA has a great deal of lighting equipment and mechanisms. There's some at the gallery, but we may be looking to the artists to help provide any illumination equipment needed. Sipa Gallery also has a wonderful bay of windows, so we'll have the opportunity to hang a lot of these panels that can be hung in an actual window. So I'm really excited about that. Jamie, will there be any recognition or category for emerging mosaic artists? Jamie, that's a great question. And for this exhibition, I'm going to say no, but it is something that's definitely on the table, and we're having conversations about how to showcase emerging artists in different ways, different exhibitions. For this one, it is open to any artists who is a member of either organization. And I have a question on the maximum measure for mosaics. We are not setting a maximum measure for mosaics. If you construct a work that, and we'll get into this here when we get into selected work policies. If you can ship it, to Buffalo, we'll make sure we make room for it if the jury selects it. So, okay. Thank you, everyone. That was great. Those were great questions. Let's move on to site-specific and architectural. We traditionally with SAMA, we've had a separate segment for site-specific and architectural mosaics. And so we're excited to also open this up to work that would be considered more traditionally constructed stained glass. But there's some really exciting contemporary work that's being made. So can't wait to see your entries. Site-specific mosaic is work that is permanently affixed to its intended environment. Public or private commissions, community projects, large-scale sculpture, and surface design. Site-specific architectural glass is the work that is permanently affixed to its intended environment. Public, private commissions, community projects, large-scale sculpture, and architectural installations. The requirements for this segment are just a little bit different because work of this scope needs a little bit more information to communicate to the jury really what's involved and what's encompassed. So we expand the number of images that you can submit to 5. So you'll have one primary image, and this is to include the framing presentation elements that are integral to the presentation of the work, if there are any. If it's a window in a church, if it's a sculpture in a park, having that one primary image that really sets the scene is ideal. And then use your 4 detail images for the close-ups, for the intricate details, or sometimes even how the public, if it's a public work, is interacting with that work. You can also submit, in addition to the detail, in place of one of the detail images, a short 5-minute video clip in MP4 or .mov if you're on a Mac format. And this can just be, with your phone, a tour of the site. We don't want any sound on it, no identifying information, just a visual tour of the work with the work that's installed in larger scenes. Again, parks, airport floors, subways. A lot of times stills don't always tell the story of the scope of the work. So you have the opportunity with these larger works to give that jury a little bit of a video tour of the work. But again, no identifying information, no sound is needed on those entry videos. All right, before I get into image guidelines, I'm going to go back to Q&A. Is there any other? I'm going to check the chat here too. Right. Can I show wooden micro mosaic of my own production? Alexi, you can definitely enter if it is a mosaic, if it is a substrate with adhesive, with tesserae that creates an image. You are more than welcome to enter it, regardless of what the individual piece or the materials that you're using. It's just then up to the jury's decision whether they feel that it can be entered or hung alongside or presented alongside with the pool that they choose from. I'm going to show in a few minutes some images from past exhibitions so you can get a little bit of an idea of the feel that the Mosaic Arts International has presented. We're getting really close to an hour, so I want to try to get into some of these image guidelines and give you all an opportunity to ask any other questions as well. But thank you for asking. You are welcome to enter whatever your material choices are, and then it's up to the jury at that point to decide whether they feel it's an appropriate material for mosaic or stained glass. They'll look at your construction method, and yeah, hope that answers that. Okay, so as you can tell, images are very, very important. Romy is asking, will we be able to see all this information on the SAMA site or where? It is a lot of information, Romy, and it is available. There are links on both the Stained Glass Association website and on SAMA's website. And in the information that you'll be receiving after the exhibition, there'll be a link to the applications that I'm going to go to here pretty quick. Okay, let me talk about images here real quick. The images that we need you to use for your application will also be the images that we will use to promote the exhibition, as well as complete the exhibition catalog. For those that are entering in the site-specific or architectural segments, we will be representing your work with those images, both digitally and in a photograph poster representation. So the quality of your images is not only important for communicating your work to the jury, but it's incredibly important for communicating your work once it's selected to the public in the form of our publication support and PR. So we are looking for images that are 3,600 PPI, pixels per inch on the long side. So that's the size of your image, and 300 DPI, which is dots per inch, the resolution. And you can Google both the difference between PPI and DPI to understand how one governs the size of the image while the other governs the resolution of the image. We want the best possible quality because we want the best possible image in the publications, and we'll be using these images for both the exhibition catalog as well as a future issue of Stained Glass Quarterly. So again, a lot of this is listed on the prospectus. We don't want you altering your images, but you can crop them. Just no fancy adding graphics or text or doing any significant smudging or marring of the work. But if you need to crop it so that it looks good, that kind of altering of your image is totally fine. Yeah. And I'm going to show a couple different. This is one that was cropped really, really tight. But I selected this as an example for the stained glass folks because it is so well illuminated. You really see the work, you see what it looks like illuminated, and it's just a great image. I'm going to go to, I'm going to stop sharing this and share. And go to some live examples. This is the Sipa gallery website. I wanted to share the past president of SGAA, David Jetson, his studio, and the studio where one of our jurors is from, had a feature in Architectural Digest magazine. And this is an example of a very clean, simple presentation of a stained glass work where there's not a lot of noise, visual noise in the background. You want to keep your background and whatever is behind the work as simple as possible. I want to also show a few from SAMA's MGAI 21 to show a couple different examples of some detail shots. I think, let's see, Jackie had some details. So there was one strong image you can see here. The framing is thin, but the framing is still included in the image. And then she's got, some up close details. I think, let's see, Lynn O'Donnell had some great details. So we've got the full view, and then again, some great details. And then let me do Caitlin's, I think had, yeah. So this was a hanging sculpture. And so in her three-dimensional sculpture, she gave us a view of several different angles of the sculpture as it spun around. I'm trying to find, here's one that gives us a different angle. Cynthia took us on a different angle. So we can see a little bit of the texture here. And so those are some of the options or some of the things you want to think about when you're photographing your work. On the architectural site-specific side, having that one full image that gives you that context of where the work is and how it's interacting in the, especially if it's a public work. I think this one has, you know, having, especially in these larger works, having a human in at least one shot so you can give some sense of scale. And then again, taking several different angles, all of that helps convey. Here you can see the work is in this lobby of this big building. And so those are some of the shots that you want to try to capture as you pull together your entries. I wanted to recommend also that on SGA's website, in the store, you can purchase back issues of Stained Glass Quarterly, where there are some great image options and representations of well photographed work as well. And then on SAMA's website in the online store, we have several of our past catalogs available that you, if you don't have them already, you can purchase and get a little bit of idea about the work that has been in exhibitions in the past. So right now I want to transition really quick. We're at an hour. If you cannot stay on the call, I completely understand. I had hoped to wrap this up in an hour, but those of you that know me know that I kind of tend to ramble, so I apologize. We are recording this, and we'll make the recording available to everyone that registered, as well as making the recording available on the exhibition website with the prospectus. The prospectus and the entry process is available at Mosaic and Glass Arts International 2023.artcall.org. And on the homepage of the entry website, you will have all the information that I've gone over tonight, plus some. It has the full prospectus with the calendar. I'll be adding the jurors early tomorrow morning. More information about the eligibility. Again, a repeat of those segments, the segment definitions, and the requirements for each segment. There's a link here for tools for crafting your artist statement for your work. Again, all the image guidelines are here. And then a little bit about the digital submission process, which I'm going to introduce you to here really quick. This website at the bottom of the page also has, and that's why I'm not going to go into it too detailed, because they have a great user tutorial on how to complete your application. What I want to focus on tonight is just making sure that you have your questions about the required information answered. This digital submission process, again, can be a little nerve-wracking. So give yourself more time maybe than you think you may need. Collect all of the items that you need for your entry fields. So your title, your dimensions, all of the things that we list here in the specification area. And you want to put that all together in, and I like to do it, put it in a folder and put all your images in a folder right there on your desktop. And then you've got it all there so that once you go to the website, create your account and log in, you've got everything you need. It's kind of like when you do your, if anybody does their own taxes online, you kind of want to gather all of your stuff in advance, and then you don't need to step away from the process and but things. However, I will say that you will have up until midnight Eastern on June 15th to edit or amend your application. So if you do set up your entries and you pay for them in the next, a couple days, and right before the deadline, you remember that you want to add a different material, or you want to change your artist statement, you'll be able to log in and edit that right up until the deadline. This page gives you all that you need to know about the entry. And then I want to just take real quick a few moments about if your work is selected. These are our expectations, and at every step of the process, I will be your main contact. Up here at the top where it says contact, if you click on that, a little form comes, and you put in your info and say, help me. It comes directly to me. I will be the primary contact for all of the artists who are selected in the exhibition. So feel free to reach out if you've got a question or a concern about the process. But once notifications go out, there will be shipping instructions for those that will be shipping their work, and then there'll be a separate set of instructions for those in the site-specific or architectural segments. Love to do a display from your project. So that could include some of your drawings, some of your leftover materials. I just got a note that my connection's unstable, so I'm going to try to go quick here. I'm sorry. Materials that are left over. We like to do a little bit of a display to further tell the story of these larger works or these site-specific works, because we won't have the benefit of them being right there with us in the gallery. So there will be further communication for those in that segment that are accepted about what we need. A lot of it will be needed by August 1st so that we can prepare the exhibition materials for installation. All artists who in the fine art segment who are selected are responsible for their own shipping both ways. If your work is purchased, you won't need to pay for return shipping. The buyer will either pick it up or pay to have it shipped to them directly with the gallery. So we have some PDFs that we're going to provide to everyone that registered for the conference and make available on the exhibition website to give you some tips and tricks about how to pack your work, whether it's stained glass or mosaic, and how to build a crate for your work so that it arrives safely. I, again, will be with you every step of the way. So as the work is uncrated, I'll be right there. If there's anything that arrives damaged or has any concerns, I'll be contacting you. And we'll take care of those on a case-by-case basis. But it really doesn't happen too often. Well-built work travels well. And that's all I'll say on that. Well-built work travels well. So that's a quick overview of the details regarding the entries. What I want to do really quick is just kind of give you a look of setting up your portfolio on artcall.org. Artcall.org has several other exhibition calls that you can enter into, so you can create a portfolio, but it's not necessary for our exhibition. All you need to do is click register. So this is the home page. And so what you'll want to do is register and apply. And once you enter in some basic contact information, it will bring you to this screen where you can start a new application. Most of the part of this system is very intuitive. It's one of the most intuitive application systems I've ever seen. You can, if you have all your information in that folder on your desktop, you can drag your images right to it. It's really pretty easy. You'll complete this page for each work. So you'll want to have your work, if you're entering more than one piece at a for consideration, you're going to enter one at a time, pay for that one, and then start a new application for your second entry. Again, you'll need to choose whether it fits within one of the top categories, and the definitions will appear here for you, and then you choose one of your subcategories. You'll enter the work's title, the dimensions. There are two places. There's a place for a description, and then we just added a place for the artist statement because some folks were having a hard time with this description field fitting their 300 words. So you can use either one. Both will be visible to the jury. You can put your artist statement or your description of your work up here or down here on the artist statement field. It's not going to matter. Once we get to the point where we're pulling your information and we're putting it together for the catalog, I'll know where to pull it, and it'll be where it needs to be. But your creation date, again, if you don't have the exact date, month, if it was something that, put your completion date. If you started it in January of 22 and you didn't finish it until April of 23, put your completion date for your creation date. We will only use the year in the catalog. This system, just asks for a month, date, year. For the site-specific and architectural work, there's a field installation location and collaborating artist and fabrication team. If you are entering work in fine art, these are not required fields. These are required fields for the site-specific architectural works. And if you forget them, I may come back to you before we go to the jury, just because they're kind of floating down here, and I'll make sure that I get those captured for those architectural site-specific entries. So you get all your information entered first, then pay, and then it's going to ask you to upload your images. So I don't want to create a false entry here, but for entering images, it is really easy. Like I said, you can drag and drop. I'm going to show you from the user dashboard. like for uploading my profile image, this is what the image entry screen is going to look like. And you just drag and drop and done. So it will take care of it. So that's for your, and feel free to enter a profile image. Again, the jury won't see that, but for those that are accepted, we may be using those in PR or, again, other publication opportunities. So if we do use them and you don't submit it, it's not going to affect your application. It just means it's one more thing I need to chase you down for. So go ahead, put it in there, but it's not required for there. Okay, I have been doing a major brain dump and I only see one more question. So let me take a little break here and see if there are any questions. Michelina is asking, is Forging New Paths the theme for the conference and something that you would like submissions to speak to and that the jury will be looking for in assessments, or is any concept idea okay? That's an excellent question, Michelina. And no, there is no theme that the jury will be directed to select to. You will, the Forging New Paths is the theme for the conference only. Exhibition is open themed, if that makes sense. Thank you for asking that. Judy King, fused glass category. Judy, I don't believe that we designated a fused glass category, but it would, if fused glass is used within let me go back to my, if fused glass is a material that is used for one of the autonomous vertical stained glass works or a freestanding stained glass three-dimensional work, or one of the site-specific categories, it won't be excluded. We're looking at a primary construction method. I hope that makes sense. Maybe Megan can answer a little bit better in the chat on that one, but yeah, we would expect anything that is, and it can get complicated because there are mosaic artists that use fused glass inclusions as a mosaic tessera in a mosaic application. And there are fused glass materials used in stained glass applications. So we're really looking at the applications separately from the materials, if that makes sense. All right. Let me see here. Yeah, Megan answered, help me answer that. And she said the same thing I did, I think, but better probably. So you can see Megan's answer to that in the chat. Let's see. I wanted to share one image really quick as an opportunity for, you know, what would be a this one here. Whoops, go back. So this image here, the work is well lit. We see without a lot of complication in the background how the work is to be presented. But I would then and I'm going to take this out of, I would like to see this image cropped so that, I think we're going to have to go out here. It's going to let me do it this way. Okay. What I want to see is the top to come down here. I want to see the cropping framed a little bit better to improve this presentation. And whatever this is hanging on the wall, we'll kind of crop that out. Go back to play current slide. So see what a difference that makes. It could probably be cropped a little bit more evenly than I just did. I was kind of doing it on the fly, but that gives the jury and the public in our publications and on websites and social media a much cleaner, clearer view of the work. So I hope that gives you kind of a good idea about that. Was there any other questions? There have been some great questions tonight, so I really appreciate everyone participating in the chat. I know, sorry, Karen. Karen's OCD is killing her that I didn't crop that perfectly. Sorry. Let's see. Thank you, Megan, for adding all the links in the chat. That's awesome. Let's see. Is there a thematic to respect? I did just answer that one, Marilyn. We are not giving the jury a theme. They are looking at each work on its own merit on its own. Judy, must the art be for sale? No, it does not have to be for sale for this exhibition. When you get to that point on the entry form, just put 0. And that I think that's the instruction on there, to put 0 if it's not for sale. Karen, you're still concerned about your frame. You don't want to take new pictures. I understand that. Again, look and see how your cropping can go. Is you're concerned that your pictures that have been taken do not include enough of the frame? Okay, you've cropped the image. I see. Yeah, it really makes a difference when, especially when as you know, at conference, you know, you've got a room full of artists who are looking at what's on the wall and what's in the catalog. And we really want to present the work in the catalog and in our publications as we are presenting it in the gallery. All right, I know I'm almost at 90 minutes, everyone. I really appreciate it. I do want to make sure I answer everybody's question though. So we'll just keep going. And if you need to go, I really appreciate your time. Hi, Lenny. Jamie, one last question about listing materials. If one is including smalty and stained glass and vitreous glass and many other kinds of glass, tessera, glass plates, beach glass, etc., should it be listed simply as various glass? Yes, but you can also list all the other types as well. What I would like you to stay away from is getting into whether it's Italian or Mexican smalty. it's smalty, it's sheet glass or stained glass, it's glass tile, glass plates. That gives the viewer and anyone who has purchased the catalog a little bit of context that there's a lot of different types of glass that are being brought together in this work. Mixed media definitely is another way of putting that. For hanging display, any preference for soldered rings versus a fixed chain? Hey, Megan, you want to give me an answer to that one for Aloria? I don't know that the jury is going to have that much of a preference. I think as we look at the needs of installation, like I said, we're going to take it as a case-by-case basis. But if you're still in the process of constructing your work or preparing it to be shipped, we just need to make sure that you have very detailed instructions on how it's to be hung and the appropriate hardware to accompany it when you ship it. All right, that's great. I really appreciate everyone being here. We've had a lot of great engagement, and we will be putting the recording once it's rendered on the exhibition entry website. We'll send you all a link to the recording. Anyone who registered will be able to watch it afterwards, and it'll be available on the website. I'm going to give it another minute. All right, Megan's having some connection problems, and I think I am too. So I think we're going to need to cut it short. Well, cut it long, but cut it now. I appreciate everyone. Let me put up here for anyone that's looking to ask any further questions. You go to bed tonight and you were like, oh, I should have asked whatever. Feel free to send me or Megan an email. SAMA is now all volunteer, so I'm fulfilling executive director and director of this exhibition duties on a volunteer basis. So I may not get back to you right away because I got another gig, but as soon as possible, I'll get back to you to answer any questions, and Megan is available as well. Thank you, everyone. And get back in your studio. I want to see your work. I want to give your work to the jury to see. It's been so long for SAMA. Since 2019, we haven't been able to present a live exhibition, and I'm so excited to start cracking open your containers and hanging your work and presenting your site-specific and architectural entries in this beautiful space we've got to work with at Sipa Gallery, and creating this new collaboration with my friend Megan and the Stained Glass Association of America. Have a good night, everybody.